Hello, my name is Joan Bistoff and I'm a resident of Littleton. Today I'm joined by my friend and neighbor, longtime resident of Littleton, Rob Hartz. In part one of this three-part docuseries, we talked about the formation of the Spectacle Pond Association, reasons for its genesis, backed by a very big problem, and that was, a railroad company wanting to build an auto unloading facility on an aquifer that would feed water to the businesses and the residents of Ayer and Littleton. Now, in part two, we want to talk about the solution that was found that presented a little victory for the association. So here we have Rob. Hello, Rob.
Hello, Joan. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
In part one, we talked about you and the association knocking on so many doors.
Correct.
From state to federal levels. You thought that people and the agencies would step up to protect what is a very sensitive part of town, a very concerning issue of water, of health, and to no avail. You tried engaging the railroad company, only to be brushed aside easily.
Yes.
But you did find a solution, so tell us about it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It was a lot of disappointment that the agencies like EPA or DEP would step in and would just take care of this. And as we spoke the last time, it says a small group of us, maybe 5, sitting around at the kitchen table, realized we're the ones. There is no cavalry coming to rescue this. We're going to have to figure it out. And so that got us into strategic thinking. Let's pound the railroad. And we, actually one of our neighbors put out got them listed on the dirty dozen of the worst environmental companies in the state. And so Guilford was included. But we realized that as much as we could make those assertions, that the railroad is owned by a single person, and they don't really care about public opinion very much at all. So I'm not saying they don't at all, but it was not going to be a one that was going to be very productive. So we did not demonstrate in front of the railroad because they'd shrug.
Why waste time?
But that was the beginning of our strategy, which is saying if the railroad doesn't care, who would? That would actually make a difference. And the secret is it's auto unloading, which means there's an automobile manufacturer, which is going to be Ford or GM or Chrysler or Toyota, one of the large ones, because it's a very big 56-acre spot. It's going to be a large company. So we did reach a level of success by figuring that out, that we have to figure out which of those 4 companies. And so I did a lot of calling. If you've ever tried to reach an executive at GM or Chrysler, good luck to you.
Yeah, but there was no LinkedIn then.
There was no LinkedIn, but by chance or by luck, I reached a senior person at Toyota in their environmental group, and he said, no, it is not us, and we would never do that. And we reached someone at GM, and ultimately I got a good connection with a person in the environmental group at Ford, a email discussion we had back and forth. So our strategy was then, when it became evident that Ford would be the one that was going to be the, quote, sponsor of this, we realized this is what we need to do.
We need to engage
influence Ford. And if we do that, and they step back from this or relocate it, then we have stopped it.
Right.
We've stopped this facility on that very sensitive piece of real estate that in turn protects the drinking water of Littleton and Ayer. So this was a big stakes issue. And because it was big stakes, and everyone in these 2 towns, and Harvard as well, and Westford, understood the stakes. And so we were able to build a strong coalition. And our work then was to help them focus on influencing Ford. Because you've got that energy and you've got enough people that care. We did a good job of educating. We did a good job of public relations. We kept it in the forefront by talking to the reporters, writing letters to the editor, Because Joan, when you think about it, it's, something in the future is going to happen that might be bad, but we're all busy with our lives. And so it's going to fall out of our headset, and things get built, and then we regret that happened.
Right.
So part of our work was just making sure that everyone understood the stakes are high, and there's something we can do about it.
Right, that you don't lose steam.
Exactly. But we needed to actually have action that would help bring this forward to Ford. So we did our own research. We learned very quickly that the chairman of Ford is William Clay Ford at that time. He's the chairman, and we also, by reading up, saw that Ford was making a claim that they're being a green company, and they are going to continue, and they change their manufacturing processes to be more green, and they're paying attention to all this. So when I would reach out to my contact at Ford, my email friend, I would say, you are supposedly a green company, yet you are sponsoring an event in your supply chain that is going to be problematic for these towns. And it's not going to reflect well on your company's reputation.
Yeah.
He understood that.
Of course. Yeah, it could blow up into a PR disaster.
Well, that's what
you were trying to
we
blow
were
it up.
working. And what did we do? We go and we get picket line. We have a picket around. If you've driven through the Rotary in Air, you see the big Ford dealer there.
Yep.
Every Friday night we'd have signs.
Wow.
And when we were there, the local politicians would show up. Senator Pam Reeser was there, and Jamie Eldridge was there.
And they joined you.
They joined
in the
us.
protest.
And so we got people that were interested, the politicians. We then did outreach to the business community because, as you may know, there's a lot of water-based businesses, both in Air and Littleton. The Soya, for example, was a soy manufacturer. We had Very Fine, the fruit drink company here. So the businesses were very concerned, and so we were able then to build petitions, local people that we would go out to the town collection station, get everyone, hundreds of people to sign from both towns.
I think you had over 1,500.
Yeah, I believe we did. We did a lot of work, and there's a lot of people involved. Spectacle Pond organization was at the forefront, but we were also working with PACE, people of Air concerned for the environment, and other environmental organizations that deserve a lot of credit. So it wasn't just us. It was we called it then Coalition for Aquifer Protection to do that. So what happened is we got those signatures, then we added the concerns of the business community when they signed letters. Then we got the boards of health from 3 towns, because Harvard was also weighing in. And then we got the select boards to write their letters. And so we have a stack of papers that's convincing that we're a unified front. Business, environment, local leaders. And then I wrote a cover letter to say, this is the concern, and it was directed to William Clay Ford, chairman, Ford Motor Company. And it was like, this is beautiful. This is so great. We have this united front and a good, strong case about what it means to be a green company.
Yeah.
In the year 2003, which when this was happening. But there was one thing missing. I couldn't imagine.
Who is Robert Hartz?
Yeah. Who am I? So, and that was the first thing that was missing. Well, it didn't matter. My name mattered less. It was the fact that there are this unified organization. But you're right. I didn't want to put it into a manila envelope and slip it in the mail with, scrawled, William Clay Ford, Ford Motor. What we needed was prestige, because this would be a low prestige effort. We needed high prestige. So we called on Senators Kennedy Kerry, the offices of Senator Kennedy Kerry and Marty Meehan, our congressman at the time, and said, we need your help. So the Kennedy office said, we will help. And so we sent it to them. The senator writes a cover letter. We insert it in an envelope that says, from the office of Edward M. Kennedy to chairman, and we knew they're going to open that envelope. That one will get opened.
Yeah.
And so that actually, got our case in front of the chairman and the executive committee of Ford.
And when that was sent, did you hear back from them immediately after?
No, we heard nothing for a while. I started to get nervous.
Yeah.
But I have an inside
Did you?
contact. So
Oh, okay,
I wrote
that's
him
good.
a note and said, hey, we've sent this. Was it received?
Yeah.
He said, yes, it's received. But he had no more
He couldn't
information.
offer more insights.
But a month goes by, 2 months, and then suddenly a letter appears. I get a phone call from Savas Danos, who was head of the water department in Littleton at the time. He said, Rob, you've got to come down here. We got a letter from Ford sent to the selectmen, but they copied me on it, and so come read it. We read it together, and the letter is, I think, written by a team of lawyers, because it was just,
Full of legalese.
legalese separating themselves from the project. We are not the sponsor. We are not the, all the stuff that they have to do for liability purpose. I understand it, but it really told us nothing that we wanted to hear. Just, you shouldn't hold us liable. But the last line, Joan, was really important. We weren't sure what it meant, but it just said, at this time, we, Ford, choose not to engage in this project. Period. Signed, General Counsel, Ford Motor Company.
And how did that make you feel when you read
Well,
to the end of the letter?
mostly confused, because
Confused.
Savas and I were looking at each other and
Yeah.
saying, I think this is good news, but maybe it's not good news. Maybe it's just, this week we're not doing it, but next week we changed our minds. So
Right.
we needed more information. And so I had the contact. I wrote a message and said, hey, I've got this letter. Would you like me to send it to you and you can tell me what does it mean?
Yeah.
His reply, no need. I was present at every meeting that we held on this. And I write, wait a minute, you had multiple meetings on our, yes, multiple meetings. And then he followed up with, and I'm very proud of the outcome. And I'm writing quickly, what was the outcome? What does it mean?
Yeah, yeah.
He said, what that line means is that the executive committee has put out a executive order, we will not use this facility. I said, that sounds good. Tell me what an executive order means in the Ford culture.
That was you after years of battle,
Yeah, at least 5
in
years.
shock and disbelief that you needed layman clarity.
Exactly. We needed to know what it means. And they said, once an executive order is out, no one defies an executive order in Ford.
Right.
It's done. It's like ironclad. And I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
So we were so thrilled that
Yeah, you hit the home run.
from this group of 5 people at a kitchen table all the way up to getting a letter from the executive committee of Ford Motor Company saying, we're not going to engage, and therefore it stops the project. Because without a client, there's no reason for them to pave our aquifer. So
Made sense.
we won.
And so, what was the reception of that? Did you put out that letter in the local news? Did you start calling a lot of businesses and neighbors?
I don't remember
Did you throw a
exactly,
party?
but I
Did you
think we
put
had
out
a
banner
party. I think we
sign?
celebrated. I think there was a lot, so many people involved. And remember, there was lawsuits going on from the railroad trying to sue people, a lot of litigation. So the fact that we had a win was enormous.
Yeah.
Because this railroad had been very aggressive in
Yeah.
pushing for their point of view. And they were not listening to the town. They were intimidating the town of Air to get their way. And so it was quite interesting. I mean, we were just thrilled that this actually happened. It was
Yeah.
almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a David and Goliath story.
It is, in a way. So I'm very proud, and I know that people from Spectacle Pond who were very involved with this are also proud of the outcome, that this small organization, had an impact on this.
Yeah. But I know that that's not the end, because today there is that facility.
There is, and there is
over
a
there.
whole nother chapter of how the stop to this facility lasted for 6 years, where Ford stayed away, but then things changed. The point is, when 2008, 2009, economic disruption happened, it had a huge impact on the leadership of Ford. Ford was even wondering if they could be a company anymore. If you remember how difficult that time was economically. So that resets the clock, and we have to start again, and we can talk later how that worked.
All right. So we'll enjoy this little victory first, and we'll stay tuned for part 3 of this docuseries. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Joan.